Welcome to Agents Growth Academy. Class is now in session. Gang, I'm super excited because I've got David Carothers, who's the principal at Florida Risk Partners, LLC, the founder of Killing Commercial Insurance Sales Training, co-host of Power Producers Podcast, which I know you've heard of, principal at Catalyst Funding Solutions, and most important, loving husband and daddy. And I can't actually fit everything that he does on a legal size sheet of paper. So, David, welcome to the show, man.
That's only the stuff I want you to know about, Jim. I mean, it's crazy. It's busy in my world most of the time.
Yeah, you were telling me you were just at a conference, Innovation. Tell us what that was about.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. So for people who own independent agencies, it started out as a private Facebook group, and it has now got like 8,000 members in it that are all agency owners. And it's a great time for us just to get together, talk shop. You know, they bring in some of the most forward thinking and innovative agents in the country to present their ideas and share what they're doing that's working in their agency. And it is just a really good time for everybody who's there. The content is fantastic. And like any other conference, the conversations you have after hours or in the halls are really what makes it fantastic. So
Yeah,
had a great time. We actually put together a boot camp for commercial insurance the day before Innovation because it was here in Tampa.
yeah.
It was complimentary for anybody. I said, you know what? You're having it in my hometown. I'm going to be here anyhow. If anybody wants to come in a day or two early, we'll do a boot camp for free. So we did that and had a couple.
Dude, that's
hundred
pretty
agents
generous.
come in and listen about commercial insurance. And then we just threw an absolute banger at the Florida Aquarium that night. So
Oh, that's awesome.
it was a good time.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw your jacket. I loved your jacket, by the
way. Got a jacket for all occasions, man.
Yeah.
You have to wear them though.
Yeah, that's a great group. Actually, I do remember a few years ago, before I really got like just bombarded with trying to take over my dad's agency. I was more active on that, on the group on Facebook, and it was really cool because people would just, random like places in the U.S. like, hey, anybody in Georgia know somebody that can help out with this? I was like, oh, I'm in Georgia. Yes, I can help out with that. So that was like my first true taste of realizing, to the core, like how much we give to each other in this industry. Like, I mean, the fact that you're coming on my show, like you're a much bigger deal than me. So to give your time to come on my show, like very much grateful for that. And you're, we're just also giving. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great industry. And I would say that the majority of us do give. And the people that are the most successful in this industry, to me, are the ones who give the most because it comes back to them in a multiple.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, coming on your show, come on, man. All you have to do is ask. It's not like you had to twist my arm or anything. It's not that big of a deal. I remember when I first got involved in IAOA, I was kind of on an island, man. And, we talked about it for a little bit right before we started recording that we've basically been agency principals for the same amount of time. And for the first couple of years of that, I was isolated. I started my agency in the dining room of my house. So it's not like I even had employees and stuff that I could go and talk to every day. And coincidentally, one of the partners at the very first agency that I worked at here in Tampa put me into IAOA, and I haven't looked back since, man. I've gained so much from everybody in there that it's only right for me to pay back by sharing anything that I have in experience or knowledge that'll help them. And I think we should all be that way. Too many times people end up getting that sweet taste of success and they forget where they came from. And, we need to remain humble and grounded and know that no matter how much money we make or how much success we have or how many downloads we get on a podcast or whatever else, at the end of the day, we're all the same, and we shouldn't think of ourselves any higher than anybody else or any lower than anybody else. And I think that's really that's the biggest compliment I get. Have I had some success? I absolutely have. Yeah. But when I meet people in person, they're like, holy cow, man, you're like a normal person. Well, yeah, I am. I've got a wife and 4 kids. They can all tell you exactly how normal I am if you want to interview them.
Yeah. And, I've got 3 kids, you've got one up on me, but even more how much your time is valuable. So again, to be able to share any amount of time with anybody, I feel like for some folks like us who've got lots of kids is admirable. And it takes work.
Yeah, there's a point in my day when I get home and I go from insurance agency principal / podcast host to piece of playground equipment on the living room floor, right? And with
How old are your kids?
So I didn't figure out what was causing kids until way down the line. So I've got 19, 15, 10, and 8.
Oh man. Okay. Yep.
I've got a long ways ahead of me yet.
Yeah, I'm close, but not to the 19 stage. I'm 16, 14, and 9. So.
Oh well, yeah, you're not that different in your spread then.
Yeah. Figuring it out. There was definitely a 4-year gap. We were like, oh, hey, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, my little girl is my youngest, so we were able to stop once she finally blessed us with her presence.
That's awesome. Well, one thing I want to talk to you about that I heard you talk recently on Stacey King's podcast was making marketing a daily habit. And I saw, just looking through LinkedIn, like you obviously have some experience with marketing prior to what you're doing now, right? So, but I love that concept of making marketing a habit because it's, I love Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? It's like the Mac Daddy of how to actually, have a very productive life, and habits is a big, big thing. And actually, I'm thinking about writing something around habits and sales. So tell us about marketing habits.
Yeah. So, I mean, marketing habits, sales habits, any habits, they're all the same. It's no different than going to the gym, right? If you want to go to the gym and get in good shape, you can't just go once a week. There's other components that go into that. And, it's funny that you're writing something. I actually have a book coming out too in the spring that's specifically about sales behaviors and habits that every producer should have.
Awesome.
But, in the marketing piece, the problem is I think people get so excited to start it. And if they can can overcome the apprehension of getting started, they're after it, with reckless abandon for a short period of time. But we're so programmed to get instant gratification in everything we do that they don't understand marketing is really a long play, right?
Yeah.
You're not gonna create a blog post and the very first time you do it, it's gonna go viral and then everybody's gonna recognize you as a subject matter expert on the subject that you wrote the blog post about. Like It's literally, months, if not years before you gain the traction that you want to gain in the game. And so for me, I've done this now for years. You're right. I mean, I've got a degree in marketing. I've been in the digital game probably for the last 15 years. I remember using LinkedIn back in 2004. So, early adopter of a lot of this stuff because I could see that it was going to be the way to get business in the future. Now, if you look at the stuff that I market or the content that I put out on LinkedIn specifically, and I share it across all platforms, I'm active everywhere. Mm-hmm. But if you look at LinkedIn specifically, it's geared toward my training community or information that agency principals and producers can use to be more successful and whatever else. The crazy part is I get clients off of that content. I get emails on a weekly basis. And it's weird. It just started happening about a month ago. But for the last 4 or 5 weeks in a row, I get emails saying, hey, look, I see all the content you put out talking to other agents about how they should be approaching things and how they should be selling. And I want you to represent me because I'm not getting this.
That's cool.
And it's insane. And that's not who it was geared toward. And it just goes to show that if you are consistent in putting content out on a regular basis, that even though you have an idea of who your audience is, we never really know on the internet, man. It's like going fishing down in the Keys. One of the reasons I love to fish in Key West is because I never know what's going to be on the other end of my line when I throw it in.
That's right.
You can catch anything. And so it just sort of has blown me away. But I mean, back to making it a daily habit.
Yeah.
I read the book Atomic Habits recently. It's been a lot of people have read the book by James Cleary. I had not read it. I read it and I'm like, wow, this makes way too much sense that you can take something and break it down into very small and digestible pieces. My friend Daniel Song, who's an agency principal over in California, out in I don't remember where he is, but he's out west in California somewhere. Great Park. And he came on our podcast, and he said one of his habits is he reads 10 pages every day, right? 10 pages. That's it.
Of
That's
anything, or just a book?
Of a book. Like,
Okay.
let's just say it's a book, right? We're going to read a book.
Okay.
Read 10 pages every single day. That's digestible. That's something that every single person can put their effort behind and get done. And guess what? If you do that for 30 days, you just read a 300-page book.
Right.
How many people listening to this are reading one book a month to make themselves better right now? Probably not very many, because you look at it as reading the entire book, not reading 10 pages a day. Right. And I think that the key to success in any of this stuff is to take it and break it down. It doesn't matter if it's marketing or your behaviors as a producer or whatever. You have to have the macro goal. We know, like, as producers, we know that we need to write X number of dollars in revenue by the end of the year.
Right.
So that's great. Are we just going to go at it blind, or would it make more sense if we broke that down by how much we need to do each month, how much we need to do each week, and how much we need to do each day? And that's the whole thing. And I'm not even talking about just the sales, but the actual behaviors behind the sales. I think it's a big misconception that agency principals are beating on people for hitting their revenue goals, but they're not doing what they need to do to make sure that they're maintaining those behaviors that lead to the revenue every day. And those behaviors are what are the atomic habits, right? They're the tiny bite-sized digestible things. So are you making your number of phone calls? Are you making the number of cold calls to businesses? Are you making sure you're following up on all your emails? And are you intentionally scheduling your time to do that? My good friend Brandon Smith just released a book called Let's Go that is a producer. It's a producer planner for 2022 that takes what a producer should be doing and makes it a daily thing that they can read and follow the instructions and do. And I mean, why haven't we had that in the industry prior to Brandon writing it? You know,
yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Yeah. Yeah. Especially for a producer who's just kind of stuck in bad habits or no habits, you know, doing nothing and doesn't have a plan. Yeah, that's brilliant. What other kinds of things, like from a marketing perspective, could producers be focused on? One of the things I'll tell you that I love that I think you said was like driving by just some random prospects building, taking a selfie and then sending it to them. I mean, that was clever.
Yeah, no, I do that. Like if I go in to do a cold call, and I listen, I don't cold call anymore. I don't need to. I've got producers who do that, and I love to support them. Yeah. But I'll do it when I'm with them. Yeah. You know, if we go in to look for a decision maker, and I actually talked about this in my first book, if we go in to meet with a decision maker and we didn't meet them, my MO is I'll go do a selfie style video right next to the sign or right next to their picture in the lobby or their name or whatever, and say, hey man, just want to let you know I stopped by to see you today. Sorry we missed each other. Would love to catch you the next time around. If you want to schedule time, my calendar link's in this email, or I'll reach out to you in a couple of weeks when I'm coming that way. Yeah. But I mean, I think so many times it's just the fact you've got to get past the roadblock of getting started. And the content game is no different. The marketing game is no different. People, the number one thing that I hear from people when we talk about content marketing is, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to write about, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's really simple. It's a simple thing to do. Anybody who's listening to this that's an agency owner, or if you're a producer right now, that's as simple as you having a notepad and a pen next to every single phone in your office. And anytime somebody calls in and asks or people call in and ask the same question twice, write it down. This is what people want to know. Right. I've been doing this since before Marcus Sheridan came out with They Ask You Answer. I mean, I've been doing this for years, but it's an easy way to produce content. Another easy way is, if you're an agency principal, think about how annoyed you get every time your producers are coming and asking you questions about what does this mean? What's that? What's this coverage? What's that? When I get those questions, I just say, look, go research it, write a paper on it and come back to me and explain it to me. Now we turn that into a blog post, right? Yeah, and it's a blog post. It's evergreen. It's going to be relevant. It lives on your website forever.
And you can recreate that into a video or podcast
So
episode or whatever.
my process is really, really simple. My content creation process is easy. It starts with video, because for me, video is the easiest way to go.
Yeah.
I pull into my parking lot. I hit the intro every single day on my cell phone. I come in, I start my coffee. And then when my coffee's brewing, I'll come in, get my rig set up. You can't see it, but I've got like a whole lighting system and a nice Sony camera over here.
Yep.
And I'll turn and I'll do my video, and then I'll pop it in, edit it in Premiere. I'll have everything completely done. And then I'll upload it to rev.com, and I'll transcribe everything in that video into the written word. I can pop it into Grammarly and make sure that it's grammatically sound.
Yeah.
And then I publish it, period. And so I do that every day. I don't publish every single day because I use a software called lately.ai. And it's an artificial intelligence software that monitors your behaviors across various social networks. And it knows when the optimum time for engagement is for posts to go out. It takes about 6 months for it to learn how you behave. But I would always post things when I thought they needed to be posted. Well, what I found out was when I started using this software with the AI attached to it, my posts were going out at 5 o'clock in the morning and getting huge views. And I'm like, this is interesting. So apparently I have a lot of East Coast producers that go to the gym at 5 o'clock. And as soon as they get up to get ready, they're consuming whatever content over the course of their day, but usually right in the morning, and probably again right after they're done working out, and then again right when they get to the office. But it takes all the guesswork out, so I can go in and upload everything into that software and let it pick I have it pick the order and all of that. And the thing that's really cool about this is all I got to do is put the link to my blog post in their software, and it generates the micro posts for me. It gives me the 140 or 280 character posts.
Yeah.
And all I got to do is just say, go to all of these networks and you pick the time. I don't care what order you post these different posts in or what time of day you do it. And I get a report at the end of every week, and I know, my views have consistently gone up since then.
Wow, that's fantastic. How long has it been since you started using it?
I've used it probably 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
And the nice part about it is when you're doing something like that, it gives you a base, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm of the impression you always want to have a base of content coming out that is passive to you.
Right.
Meaning, okay, yeah, it requires effort to write a blog. It requires effort to do a video and all of that. But once it's done, the scheduling is the next beast. Now, you can use all kinds of scheduling software to do that. Certainly, Lately is not the only program. It just happens to be the one that I use.
Yeah.
But I mean, people can use Hootsuite. I don't know if TweetDeck's still around or not anymore. But I mean, you have all of those different things. Once you have that scheduled and you have that base, what that does is it frees you up to put all of the personal touches and the little posts in to fill in the cracks in between, right?
Yeah.
So I did a post that was scheduled this week that talked about the pitfalls or the things you need to be cautious of when hiring entrepreneurial producers.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was scheduled. That one's going out whenever. But then everything else I posted was like, hey, I should put this over here as the day goes on.
Yeah.
And I'm scheduling that stuff manually. So it makes sure that I have content going out every day, but then I can augment that with my own stuff to sort of tell the story of what I want people to be thinking about.
That's awesome. Getting back to the concept of like making this a habit for a producer who's, trying to make stuff happen. They've got appointments already set, but they're also trying to grow what they have. How much time should they be spending on stuff like this if this is the way that they're going to go?
So for me, I do it. It's the first 30 minutes of my day every day, period.
Okay.
It's no different than running on a treadmill. It's no different than swimming in laps in a pool, any of that. Yeah. It's the first 30 minutes. And I would say that if you're new to it, you're not used to video editing and all of the other stuff, then make it an hour a day and then tailor it down to 30 minutes. But in 30 minutes to an hour a day, here's what I want people to understand, okay? Every blog post that you write, every video that you put out, any piece of content that you are going to stick on the internet is the equivalent of you hiring a salesperson to work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I look at it like I'm going to spend 30 minutes to hire the best producer I can today. And that producer is my piece of content. So I put everything I possibly can into it, get it out, and it works, man. I mean, I tell the story when I get up and speak in public about an account that I wrote up in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's where I am.
Guy he read an article 15, not maybe 15, probably 12 years ago that I wrote on, it's a really sexy title. Hold on. Strap on your seatbelt, because I want you to control yourself when I say it. The title of the blog post was The Workers' Compensation Experience Modifier. Right?
Wow.
Horrible. Yeah, like seriously, man, if you want to talk about something that nobody wants to read, right? Except they do, because that's what they type into Google: workers' comp experience mod, workers' comp experience modifier, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm in a meeting down here in Tampa, and I come out and I have an email or a voicemail from a 404 number, right? That's an Atlanta area code.
Yep.
I'm like, why am I getting a voicemail from Atlanta? Who do I know in Atlanta? And so I call the guy back or I listen to the voicemail first. And he's like, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I own this company up here in Atlanta. And I read your blog post on the workers' compensation experience modifier, and I want to hire you. I just need to know how much you cost and how quickly you can get here.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, this is fun. So I called him back and let him know that I would be up there that Friday. And I was. And I got the agent a record letter on a $500,000 workers' comp account on the first meeting from a blog post.
Yeah, you did. That's freaking phenomenal, man. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Here's the message, people. Is everybody going to like what you write? Absolutely not. But the people who do are the ones who are going to buy from you because your voice resonates with them. Yeah. You don't need to try and write articles to appeal to the masses. You need to write articles in your voice because you want to attract like-minded people. If they're not like-minded, that's going to be a horrible business relationship for you down the road anyhow. So that's the beauty of content marketing, right? We can go out there and we're going to attract those people who have a understanding and our message resonates with them.
Do you think that's why when you're posting stuff that's geared towards insurance agents, but you're having folks on LinkedIn contact you about insurance who are not in the industry, is it because it resonates, or is it just because you appear to be an expert? Why do you think it is?
I think that most of the time it's because, number one, I speak from a position of authority, whether that's the case or not.
Yeah.
And I'm confident about what I say. I mean, you never hear me waver in what I say. You know, I'm pretty confident in what the messaging is. And the other thing is, I think it's because when I'm talking to agents about things they can do to differentiate themselves at the point of sale, who better to be the judge of what's different at the point of sale than the people that are buying from them? Yeah. And so if they click on that message, which I don't think that I can't believe these people would be going in droves to do that. But I just think that if they hear one time, they're like, wow, this message is so completely different than what I'm experiencing. I need to find somebody who thinks like this. If this guy's getting those kind of results.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Here's the problem with marketing. Okay. The problem with marketing is that I have a good friend of mine. He wrote the book Marketing 2.0. His name's Borges. It's the first book I read on digital marketing. And it came out in like 07 or 08, something like that. And so I bought his book. I read it a second time. I read it a third time. And I immediately started putting the things into that book, in that book, into practice. Now, the mechanics of how you do things in that has changed over the years, but the thought process behind it has not. It's never changed. Yeah. And one of the things Bernie talks about in his book is we are guilty of shouting at our audience. And what he means by that is we're out pushing the message that we want people to hear. And insurance agents are the worst at this, in my opinion, in my younger days, me included, right? Because we want to talk about, here's what makes us different. Here's why we're better. And we do it on the medium that we choose, and we're forcing it into people's news feeds or whatever else, when really what we should be doing is exactly what I said, following that approach of answering the questions people are asking us, or going to a website like answerthepublic.com that is a reverse Google search where I can go in and type in workers' compensation, and then it's going to feed me all the questions people have typed into Google looking for, answers around workers' compensation. And now I'm like, wow, this is like an open book test. I can just write a little article on this, and this, and never be done with it. Yeah. But I think that part of the problem is people don't understand the distribution strategy either, right? I don't publish every single day. I publish when it's going to be best for me. So when I go into Lately and schedule something, I'm scheduling that content to post 2 times in a week. That's it.
Okay.
I'm not going to post a new blog post every single day. What I do is I create one every single day. And that way, when I go on vacation, I can go into my Dropbox and I can pull stuff out and schedule that. And I don't have to worry about creating content. I've probably got 75 to 100 pieces of content right now that are waiting to be scheduled.
Wow.
Just because I've made it a habit to create it every day. So create does not necessarily equal publish.
Wow. That's powerful. And that puts you in such a great position to not be stressed about it, because I think a lot of agents who are listening to us thinking like, oh my gosh, I could do this, but man, that sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, you're right. It's like if you're kind of batching it, like if you're putting out more background work, but the production faucet is turned down slightly, then you're able to feed a lot of stuff over time. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, even with podcasts, so like Scott Howell and Bradley Flowers, the insurance guys podcast, those guys batch, right? They like literally lock themselves in a room for 8 to 10 hours a day, and they'll do all of the podcasts for the next couple of months at one time.
Yeah.
I don't do it that way. For me, it's easier to do death by 1,000 cuts. I would rather spend the 30 minutes to an hour every single day and have that consistent habit, because for me to be able to sit and think and focus long enough to do content for an entire day, that's just, look, man, my brain's not wired that way. It will be, the end of the day, content would be horrible.
Yeah, that's interesting because, obviously my show is a newer show. And as I started getting like, going from one person recording a show with each week to like 2 and now 3, it's like at first I was looking at my calendar going, ooh, I don't know, this is getting tight. But now I'm like, spending an hour a day, it's not that hard, especially if it's blocked out on the calendar and I'm using a link to have people schedule time that works for them and me. So that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I want to get into some kind of rapid fire questions with you here. And you've mentioned a couple already, but what's one piece of technology or software that you cannot live without?
A piece of technology or software, I would say right now, probably my webcam, honestly, because of everything that's happened with COVID. That's the must have for all of us.
Yeah. What are you using? Is it
it's just a Logitech.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little Logitech that's external to my desktop.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think another piece of software that's really vital for our agency right now is our video proposals tool. So we don't propose in person anymore. We do everything over video, and so we can record a screenshot in a camera shot of us walking through a proposal just like we would if we were sitting across from someone. But then we can send that to them via email, and they can consume that content when they're ready. We're not telling them. Think about how intrusive the process has been all these years.
Yeah.
I'm a commercial person. I'm going to cold call and interrupt your day just to introduce myself so I have an opportunity to come back and interrupt your day again.
Right.
And then we're going to ask you for an hour of your time out of the middle of your day because that's when it's convenient for us to meet with you.
Right.
Think about how much better presentations are when you have 2 or 3 takes to make sure it's absolutely perfect. You explain everything 100% the way it needs to, and then you can package that up with all of the necessary PDFs of the actual quote proposals and anything else you need signed or whatever. Fire it over to your prospect or your client at renewal time, and then let them watch the video and ask questions when it's convenient for them. We've bound accounts at 2 a.m. We've bound them at 2 p.m. It really doesn't matter. But what we found is that we get 100% positive feedback. People love the technology and the fact that we're willing to use it with them.
What are you using, Loom, or are you using something else?
So you could use Loom. We actually use Advisor Evolved is who our web vendor is, and they've got a quote bid platform built into it. Which is really slick. And then there's other external software like Neoteric Agent is another good one that's got really slick proposal templates. And I like Neoteric. We actually use that for all of our personal lines. And the reason why is because the differentiator is the prospect's email address. So we can, when we move a deal over to quote proposed in our CRM, it'll fire off an email and a text message that says, hey, your custom insurance proposal is ready for you to view. Click this link and use your email address to log in. And boom, they can do that.
Yeah.
With quote bids, it's a little different because everything is a unique link. So for our bigger commercial stuff, we'll use that because it's a more customized thing. But for the turn and burn stuff, Neoteric is great because it's completely automated for us.
That's awesome. Like smaller accounts that are easier to close.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's one book that you're either reading or would highly recommend?
So it's funny. Anybody who's ever heard me speak already knows the answer to this question, and it's Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Okay.
Best book I've ever read, and I've
What
written 2 books, way better than mine.
What's it about?
So Chris Voss is the ex-lead hostage negotiator for the FBI, and he talks about the psychology of negotiations and how you need to handle yourself, and he just dives deep.
Mm,
And it's not necessarily written to be directly correlated to business and sales, but it is very easily adaptable to that. And when I get up and do keynotes, most of the time what I'm talking about is persuasion and sales psychology and things like that.
yeah.
And I use a lot of the stuff that I learned in that book to conduct those talks. But I mean, anybody who read that book, if you read it and you think, how can I use this in my job as a producer or a salesperson, it'll change your game completely.
That's awesome. Awesome. What's one final piece of advice that you would leave with our listeners on what we've talked about today?
Dream bigger than you ever thought you could. Period. I mean, a lot of people ask me how I'm able to do all the things that I do. And it is like I work a lot, but I also intentionally schedule every hour, every minute of my day. So that's how I get it done. I don't get caught up playing Toon Blast on my phone or, going around and screwing off on social media other than the stuff that I'm there to post. I intentionally schedule every minute of every hour of my
Mm,
day, and I stick to the schedule. But what I mean by thinking big is, I talk to producers from all over the country, and the number one thing that I see in anybody that's new is they just want to know how. How do you do this? I don't think I could ever do that. And until you believe you can, you won't.
yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. You have to believe that you can accomplish whatever it is that you put your mind to. Now, it might take some time and effort to figure out the behaviors you need to back into that. But if you don't have the right end goal, all the steps to where you're going are going to lead you to nowhere.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome. If you had the choice between, if I said soup or marshmallows, what would you choose?
Soup 100% of the time.
What kind?
I would probably go, and you're going to think this is weird, but my wife makes this zuppa toscana. It's part of a Whole30 diet regimen. It is absolutely fantastic. It has far more kale in it than what
Oh.
I ever should consume. I'm not a kale guy, but it's good, man. She's got it dialed in.
So if you're gonna get soup that's not like being made by you or your wife, would it be like a veggie soup or chicken noodle or like a
Depends on
cream based?
it depends on the day, man, and where I'm at. If I'm up in the Northeast, you can be guaranteed it's going to be clam chowder. If
Wicked awesome.
yeah, or I'm guilty of the old grilled cheese and tomato soup on a rainy day,
Ooh.
so I can dip the
Ooh,
sandwich
yeah.
in it. Like, I'm a connoisseur of fine soups and food in general, man. So I mean,
Awesome.
I could go for a long time on that.
Well, as a thank you gift for being on the show, I'm going to send you soup from Spoonful of Comfort. We've sent it to our employees, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I'll
Pick
get with you
one, man.
offline.
Yeah, number one, not necessary, but
Yeah.
number two, surprise me.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
I'm
Definitely.
a big boy. There's nothing I don't eat.
Well, we'll choose something offline. David, where can people find you if they want to connect with you and learn all that you have to teach?
Yeah, I mean, really, LinkedIn is probably the best place. I'm an open connector there as long as you're promising me that you're not going to use bots to market to me the second after I connect. Like
Yeah, I hate that.
I put those people on blast. Like,
Yeah,
hi, David R. Let me show you how to get more leads. And I write
yeah.
back to him. I'm like, dude, you can't even get my middle initial out of your bot to email me. I understand how tokens work. See ya. Instant disconnect. No, I mean, LinkedIn's a good place. I'm on Facebook. You can follow my YouTube channel, which is Killing Commercial Insurance. All kinds of cool stuff there. I actually had a wild hair and created a reality show for producers last year that's on YouTube called The Protege. Season 1 wrapped up, and the winner has already been announced. And basically, the grand prize was a scholarship, a lifetime access to Killing Commercial training community. And
Awesome.
we just finished casting for season 2. So when this drops, you're going to be able to start following season 2. And the reason why I say that is not for self-promotion by any stretch. It's even if somebody were to go back and watch season 1 right now, if you're a new producer and you watch that show, you will understand the mentality you have to have and all of the action steps you need to be successful in the middle market. There are no secrets. We laid it out. We laid it out in a series of challenges that the contestants had to complete, rather. And that's how they got through. And then the top 3 took the mousetrap they built going through the challenges, and they went out in the real world and produced business for their agencies. The top guy, the guy who won, he produced $70,000 in agency revenue in 3 months, not premium revenue.
Wow. In 3 months? Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
that's what I'm saying, man. It's legit. Like we give you all 12 ingredients, as my friend Scott Howe says. Aunt B's secret sauce has 15 ingredients, and almost everybody out there only gives you 12. I give you all 15. I share it all.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to have to look into that. That's fantastic. Cool, man.
It's a fun time. If nothing else, it's entertaining.
Yeah, that's awesome. David, it's been a pleasure having you today. Really excited and look forward to having you back someday. Take care. And for everybody listening, grow big or go home.